Good afternoon, my YouTube viewers. That's Palestine here. Welcome to my channel. In my last video, I just made a video about my eye infection, and I just decided that I was going to keep it just concerning the eye infection for those individuals that are interested in my cancer journey and how it is affecting my health. In this video, I've got two things that I would like to talk about, and I hope that I can cover both of those two topics because I don't have a lot of time. I have a lot of demands on my time and my attention, so I'll try my best to get both of these topics covered. The first thing I want to talk about is the funeral that I went to this morning, and I made a short about the crematorium. So when I was walking to the crematorium to the funeral, I made a short of the crematorium, but I stopped just short of the area where the funeral was held because a lot of people don't like to have their pictures taken, and so I didn't want to get in any kind of trouble for taking somebody's picture without their permission. But basically, the funeral was for this guy called David, and since he's no longer with us, I think it's okay for me to say his name. But anyway, I met him at the handouts, and he seemed like a nice enough man, and I met him at the handouts, but basically, he stopped going to the handouts that I went to because there was this one woman who was his friend, supposedly his friend, was trying to get him kicked out of all the handouts. So he stopped going to the handout at Sadaka because he got kicked out of that. And then he stopped going to Oasis because we went to Oasis. And then he stopped going to the handouts on Queen's Arms. So I didn't see him very much when he stopped going to the handouts that I went to. But last year we did see him behind the Broad Street Mall, and we did talk to him about a few things. And so we knew who he was, and we said hello. We said hello every time we saw him. He was with this girl, and obviously I can't say her name because she's still alive. And he knew her a long time ago. And then basically he ran from going to a fair, a country fair or something. But he ran into her again after maybe 20 years. And then so they rekindled their relationship. And so they were living together in her apartment, and she is what you would call special needs. She has a learning disability, but she was living in an apartment, and he was staying with her in that apartment, and they were in love. He even bought her an engagement ring, and she showed me the engagement ring, so they were engaged. But basically they were smoking, drinking, and taking drugs. And that type of lifestyle takes its toll on a person. And one of the things that happened, because they were smoking, drinking, and taking drugs, the rent wasn't being paid. And so even if you're special needs, even if you have a learning disability, if you don't pay your rent, you will be evicted. So she was evicted from this apartment that she and Dave were staying in, and she went in to moved in with her mother, and then he didn't have any place to go. So I think that somehow or other he wound up in a Salvation Army accommodation. I don't know if it was the Salvation Army in the town that I live in or a Salvation Army in another town, but I do know he ended up in Salvation Army accommodation. So in April, his lifestyle caught up with him, and he wound up in the hospital, but the physicians at the hospital were not able to save him. And so basically, I don't know exactly how old he was. I think he may have been 61. I'm not sure. But he was younger than me. But his lifestyle just caught up with him. Because when you spend your whole life overeating, smoking, drinking, and taking drugs, it's going to affect your health adversely. And so that's what happened to him. But basically, because he had been living in Salvation Army accommodation and he had been socializing with all of the homeless people and vulnerable people, the Salvation Army came and gave the eulogy at his funeral today. So pretty much everybody who knew Dave knew that he was what you would call a vulnerable person. So this person at the Salvation Army who gave the eulogy, I don't know if he was a pastor or what, but basically when Dave fell ill, they called him to assist. So I don't know. I think he was given spiritual support, but I'm not sure exactly what he was doing. But we'll just say he was giving spiritual support. And then so he did actually see Dave either just before or at his death. And so this guy from the Salvation Army actually came and gave the eulogy at Dave's funeral. And Dave's family did pay some towards the funeral. And the reason why is because Dave's coffin was in a hearse, came in a hearse. And if you look at my previous short, you'll see the hearse that I think his coffin came in. So Dave's coffin came in a hearse. And then of all the vulnerable people, they had actually found 6 people who were going to be pallbearers. And so of all the vulnerable people in the town we live in, they found 6 vulnerable people to be pallbearers. And one thing I didn't know about Dave was that he supported Manchester United. So the people that knew he supported Manchester United wore the colors red and black because those were the colors of Manchester United. So basically, the hearse came up to where the cremation was going to be, and then so the people who worked at the crematorium took out the coffin, and the 6 pallbearers, there were 6 pallbearers, the 6 pallbearers carried the coffin into the funeral area where the funeral was going to be held. And so basically it was a very emotional time. I didn't know Dave very well, but I did know him. In fact, his girlfriend, I had given her a nice coat because she was always looking really raggedy. And I had a coat that was too big for me. And so I gave her this nice coat and I never saw her wear it even one time. So I don't know what she did with that coat, but it was a nice coat. And if I had known she wasn't going to wear it, then I would have given it to somebody else. I couldn't wear it because it was too big for me around the hips, and cold air came up in the hips. So they had this funeral, and then we went into the funeral room, the room where the funeral was held, and they were playing a song that David liked. And this lady who had been his friend since she was his child, she gave flowers to everybody. Not everybody, but most people. But most people were supposed to walk to his coffin and put a rose on his coffin. And then this man from the Salvation Army gave the eulogy. And he was talking about Dave, saying that he only knew him for a few months, ever since he had wound up in this Salvation Army accommodation. But one of the things that he was saying was that, you can't tell a person's worth by what they look like. because Dave didn't look very good. He always went around in tracksuit bottoms and a tracksuit top. He had a hernia, so you could see where he had a hernia. He was quite overweight. He wasn't morbidly obese, but he was obese. And smoked, drank, took drugs, lived that kind of lifestyle. So I'm sure most people would think that he wasn't worth very much because of his lifestyle. But this person from the Salvation Army who gave the eulogy made a point of saying that you can't tell a person's worth by what they look like. And so he was just trying to say that Dave was worth a lot, even though he didn't look very good. He was worth a lot. So that was emotional. A lot of people were crying because obviously he was loved. And his family came to the funeral, and I'm assuming that his family paid for the funeral. And a lot of people were very emotional. So then after the funeral, we went and looked at the wreaths because they had wreaths for him. And then we went and we went to the part of the crematorium, crematorium, where they were going to scatter his ashes. And then after they scattered his ashes, this lady asked me how I knew Dave, and I told her how I knew Dave, which is what I said at the beginning of this video. And then we left. We walked to the bus stop, and we went into the town. And the reason why is because by this time I was hungry and I wanted something to eat. But it was a very nice funeral, and I don't get to go to a lot of funerals because I have to work. But it just so happened that because I'm not working this week, because I took the week off to help my boyfriend, I was able to attend this funeral, which a lot of funerals I can't attend because I'm working. So it was nice that I got to attend a funeral, and I would attend more funerals if I didn't have to work. So I'm going to go ahead and close this video because someone has just come in my flat, and I think it's a good stopping point of this video. And I'm going to be making another video about another topic as well. So it's good to stop at this point, and we'll just keep this video talking about the funeral. In the next video, we'll talk about something else. So thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my video, please like and subscribe. And I'm going to be making more videos for you very soon.